Hi, Home Slices. It's Kiera with Home Slice Adulting coming to you with my review for Netflix's The Circle, a social media competition, Season 3, Episode 7, which is titled Shock Blocking. Thanks so much for clicking on this video. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share this with somebody who you think will enjoy it. Well, let's get right down to it. Speaking of shock blocking, Calvin got blocked, y'all. It was unfortunate. He was who he said he was. He was actually a relatively strong competitor who typically got ranked towards the middle, which can be a strong position because people who are at the bottom and who are closer to the top are typically the most likely ones to be voted out. So the fact that he was in the middle and still got voted out or blocked is unfortunate. So, yeah. So people were kind of shocked by that. And of course, Calvin gets to go see somebody. And mistake number one that Calvin made on his way out was going to see Kay. Now, one of the things that I kind of liked about Calvin and Kay is that when they had problems with people, they had a private chat with that person. They talked to that person directly, right? I was hoping that knowing that there is a reunion that's going to take place at the end of the show where all of the players are going to come together, he was going to see Kay regardless. So to me, even though you are exiting stage left, you can still be strategic, okay, with your exit message. So if you really wanted to help Kay, instead of giving her what little tea you did give her, the only thing he really told her was that he was very suspicious about Jackson and was pretty confident they were a catfish, which is a conclusion that Kay probably could have drawn herself. But I think it was more of him hoping that she was real and kind of pre-flirting with her before the circle ended. And it's like, we ain't got time for that, okay? If y'all block me, I'm throwing mad salt in the game and stirring the pot. You hear me? That's what I'm doing. So that was mistake number one. He was gonna see Kay at the end anyway, Lord willing. So I don't think he should have gone to see her. I think he should have gone to see someone who blocked him because both of them are catfishes. Now, he don't know that. He don't know that they were catfishes, but him going to confront a person who blocked him would have made the game so much more interesting because his message that he would leave for everybody, he could be for show and say, the person that I went to visit last night is not the person that they say they are. Throw mad salt in the game and stir the pot, okay? So, don't go see people so you can flirt with them and give them one little tidbit of information that they probably could have deduced themselves. So, anyways, again, the chemistry between the two of them felt off. Calvin was obviously into her. She, even with him not being like an ally to her in the game anymore, something about her was more reserved. It felt like less flirtatious. I don't know. I don't know if she's as into him or if she's just not a good flirter or what. But y'all, something was off with the energy. I don't know. Anyways, so yeah, Calvin leaves. He talks to her real quick. They hug each other. He lies and says the cologne that we saw him generously spray on himself was his natural musk. But before he gets up out of there, there's an alert that pops up, and Calvin is given the ability to bestow the gift of popularity on another player. So as he's deliberating about this gift of popularity that he can give to another player, three people kind of come to mind for him. One is Roxana, one is Kay, and one is Nick. And of course, we are left in suspense about who this person he has chosen is. My hope was that it would have been Kay, but yeah, that was my hope. So he chooses the player before he goes, and that is that. it is a new day, and everyone sees that Calvin is who he says he is. Isabella, who is being played by Sophia, and Ashley, who is being played by Matthew, feel a little bad. And the way you can tell that Matthew feels bad is that he has to keep saying over and over again, you did the right thing. Like, you did the best thing for your game. And he continues to tell himself that. So, justification and all that stuff. So moving on, they do a little circle chat. People chime in. Once again, I don't think Jackson said anything. This girl is just being an observing robot, okay? The girl who's playing Jackson. So they all kind of chime in, and Kay admits that she came to see him and that he was 100% genuine, and all that jazz. So yeah. So at some point later on, Nick gets a message saying that Calvin has left something for him, left a message for him, and that Calvin has bestowed on him the gift of popularity. And I don't know that Calvin knew what the actual gift would be, but Nick has been graced with the opportunity to have a burner profile. Essentially, this is a profile that he will be using to play somebody else, to figure out where he ranks, to get people on his side, whatever. And this profile comes up of this black and white picture of a guy with long hair. He's supposed to be 38 years old. His name is Vince, and he is a ghost hunter. They put a delivery at his door, and the box has like a glass bowl with a candle in it, and a cape. And it's like, is he a magician, or is he supposed to be a ghost hunter, or is he a psychic? Like, whatever they put in the box, it didn't really match. I was like, he's not Harry Potter, he's not a wizard. He's a ghost hunter. So like giving him some fake little ghost hunting gadget might have been better, but giving him a cape, that's weird. They don't even go. But anyways, he creates the profile, all that jazz. So one of the more interesting parts of this particular episode was when there's this secret side chat / alliance that's coming up, and the way Kay played the game in this situation was very good. And I actually admire the way she kind of jumped in. The fact that she's still there, she's really using it as an opportunity to bolster herself and the people she has aligned herself with. So anyways, Kay invites Roxana to a chat, and she basically spills the tea and was like, Calvin felt pretty certain that Jackson was a catfish, so we can't mess with Jackson right now. You and I need to strengthen our alliance. We need to get James, the new person, on our side. They invite James in there. They all spill the tea. And James is one of the only people whose catfish radar seems to be on point. And yeah. Also, interestingly enough, they want Daniel to be a part of their little alliance as well, but they don't invite him into the chat, which I think is a little weird. But I also don't think that it necessarily matters. I think Daniel is one of those people who is being himself and not being a threat, and could eventually sneak up on people in the end. So they better watch out. But Daniel, for now, is a good person to have on their team. So they have a really interesting conversation. James is brought into an alliance, which is good for him because as a new person, he hasn't really formed a bunch of connections. And so having these people to align with is helpful to him particularly. So strategically, that was one of the better moves. Next thing you know, there's an alert. They get alerted to Vince. So Nick played it interesting and made Vince's profile about me section sound very kind of upbeat. and it didn't necessarily match the image of what Vince was. And so he did that on purpose to kind of offset it. Daniel was freaking out. He's hiding in laundry baskets. He's like, I can't. Like, I can't. Ghost hunters, no, I'm not messing with that. I thought that was hilarious. Um, Interestingly enough, people are so intrigued by the fact that he's a ghost hunter that none of them really question whether or not it's a real or fake profile. Yeah. So what I did think was funny, look, I don't think James is that funny, but when he said, I saw okay, yeah. The other thing about the about me section is that he says that he saw his first ghost at 16. And that's when he decided to be a ghost hunter. And somebody said, "Why would you want to be a ghost hunter if you had your first ghost encounter?" The logic didn't add up. But anyways, again, I don't think James is funny, but at one point he was like, "Well, I saw a whale when I was 14. That don't mean I'm gonna be like a whale caller." um, but he didn't. The logic in his mind to be able to make that joke did not register as something that was actually a red flag, I'll say. So, anyways, they talk to Vince, blah, 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 blah. Nick is convinced that they like Vince more. He also has to play himself so that it doesn't seem weird that Vince is talking and Nick is not talking. So, he's going in one room to be Vince and one room to be Nick. And I actually think that that is a decent strategy and will limit the amount of confusion for him. So I think that that's a fine strategy for keeping Nick and Vince straight. Everyone's really intrigued by this ghost story. Vince, interestingly enough, does not want to talk about the ghost encounter that made him a ghost hunter. I don't want to talk about it. Why would you bring it up in your profile if you don't want to talk about it? Another red flag. I think that James brought up that red flag again, but again, it didn't register as a red flag for him. It was only fodder for a joke, apparently. So, yeah. So, Nick invites himself and all the other guys to a Wolfpack chat, kind of checking in because they lost a member of the Wolfpack, Calvin, staying strong, staying together. Invite other people in the chat, align. He again has to play himself and Vince. Once again, Jackson does not make a real good impression or does not offer any opinions. Again, it's a robot being played by a robot. Okay, anyways. They also talk a little bit about sports, which is, I think, is interesting. Only one person answered James when it came to the sports talk, and that was Nick. Jackson didn't even bother to answer. Vince did not bother to answer as well. Red flag. Moving on. Now they do a camping trip. This was actually the creepiest part of the show and would have freaked me out. I'm not a big horror movie ghost story person per se. I like to hear if it's a story about like a documentary about cults, like I'm into that. If it's a documentary about if it's like fictional shows about mediums, or even the Long Island Medium, I was really into that show for a couple of years too. I think that that's super interesting. But once you get into like malevolent spirits and horror movies and that type of stuff, like you cross the line. I can't. I can't go into that stuff. So, the problem was, as Nick was pretending to be Vince and telling this ghost story, everyone was so fascinated by being in this camping environment, in this moment, that they're not paying attention to like the words he's saying not making sense. Like when he's talking about the type of equipment that he had, like the words he was using weren't making sense. Or like when I lowered down the audio equipment to a human level, it's like just the verbiage sounds like you're making it up. somebody who's a ghost hunter would actually have more intelligent language to describe this encounter. Um, and I think people got distracted from that because, for whatever reason, the people at the circle, the engineers and the lighting technicians and all that stuff, decide to actually turn the lights off during the ghost story on a really like intense part of the story. And so there's knocking sounds at the doors, and it's like, no, nope. And James said, Black people don't do this. And I was like, yep, you're right. You're right. Okay. And then the last bit here that we have is an interesting conversation between Nick and Kay. At first, when the conversation got started, I was like, Kay, you're making a mistake. And so first they check in about how they're feeling about Calvin leaving. But then Kay kind of turns the tables by turning the conversation to a more emotional standpoint, talking about being homesick. Is there anybody that you miss? And Kay is opening the door for there to be a connection. And for the first time since Nick kind of turned on Kay, he's actually considering the fact that because Kay is still around and because Kay is still an influential player, if it's good for him to have her on his side. I personally think that it is good for him. And he plays along and basically says, I have your back. We're going to stick in this together. She says, I have your back. And I think that Kay was trying to be genuine. Nick obviously is not. Nick is here for this money and he don't care who he have to go through to get to it. As long as he don't offend the person that he trying to get some booty from, apparently. So, a halfway, one-way alliance has been formed. So Kay gotta watch her back. She better strengthen up that little Roxana James Daniel alliance and strengthen it up, make it real tight, because Nick is the key to the other half of the group. So we'll have to see what happens from here. So things are getting interesting. I'm happy that Kay is still here. A little upset that Calvin is gone, but I think that Ashley saving Kay is keeping me interested in this show. Because Kay is she's just a likable person, I'll just say. So moving on, I have one more episode left for today. I think I might save it for tomorrow because it's time to eat dinner. So thank you all for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And peace out, Home Slices.